3.01, Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I'd like to make a moment of silence for Kevin Wright, a retired maintenance mechanic, and Maureen Sorka, a retired English teacher from John Jay High School who passed away recently.
Friend of the district, Joe Zingoni.
And also a friend of the district, Joe Zingoni. I pledge allegiance to... Thank you. .01, public comments on agenda items. Is there anybody signed in for agenda item? So we will waive the reading. Moving on, 4.02, communication announcements received by the Board of Education. Any communications, announcements received from the board? Trustee Miggets?
Yes, I'd like to thank Mr. Harry Ramirez and the Student Council of Wappingers Junior High School for inviting all of us to participate in the annual Christmas caroling on the day before Christmas break. Trustee Johnson and Assistant Superintendent and Dainty and I were able to be here and join in with the students and lend our melodious voices. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful tradition. I've been part of it for about 12 years now, and I really am thankful that Mr. Ramirez continues to include us.
Heard you get a contract because of it. That's pretty good. Congratulations.
Trustee Odoms?
I would like to say congratulations to the RCK Science Olympiad team over the weekend at the Mount Institute at the Mount University. John Jay? No, this was RCK. They also had a Science Olympiad where their projects earned 4th and 5th place.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So I'd like to make I'm sorry, Trustee Morgan.
I believe this was after our last board meeting that Dr. Bonk, myself, Trustee Johnson, I believe Trustee Miggets, all attended the Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce breakfast. Oh, and breakfast was served, so John Lumia was there, as was Peggy Kellen. Oh,
We were at something.
okay, I misspoke.
Going to go to Albany.
But the point is that school districts from around the county sent musical ensembles, and included in them was the Ketchum Keynotes, who did a fantastic job in representing the Wappinger Central School District and Royce C. Ketchum High School in particular before one of the best attended Dutchess County Regional Chamber of Commerce events of the year. And congratulations to Director King and all of the students.
And the breakfast was exceptional.
Thank you, Trustee Morgan. I'd just like to thank the Rotary Club. I go to the Rotary dinners that honor the students for the Wappinger Central School District, and I can't tell you that Superintendent Bonk, myself, and Ed Sloshower, which is a member of the Rotary Club, once a month on Thursdays they have a luncheon, and I've been invited for the Student of the Month lunches, and I'm overwhelmed with the participation from the district and some of our local restaurants, our local bookstores, the town of Wappingers, the village of Wappingers. They all give some sort of certificates to these students that are picked by the principals of the buildings once a month. And I just have to reach out to Todd, the Rotary Club, the restaurants, and I don't want to mention the names, but the restaurants in the towns and the villages that support all of our students at that Rotary luncheon. So I just wanted to thank everybody. Marie Johnson, you have a comment?
Yes, I would like to point out that Dr. Bonk and the district, with the great assistance of Ms. C and Ms. Pedro, put together an amazing program for the Law Enforcement Day last week, and we were all most of us were able to attend, and it was a great honor to honor these men and women that come in and help protect our schools, and we're very honored to have them. And then later the same evening, we had our Welcome Heroes, which is a new tradition at John Jay, where they are honoring those that serve our community, whether it's military, fire, police, and EMTs, John Jay graduates, and they did a beautiful job on that presentation as well, and it was an honor to go there for that as well before the triple header basketball game that night.
Thank you, Trustee Johnson. Trustee Lumia.
There's no question that the Rotary does a great job for our kids. They're involved, interact, and they do a lot of stuff for our community, so we're very grateful to what they do. And I hope they can keep doing it. So I want to thank the Rotary, and I thank that the superintendent, the president, vice president, and the superintendent appear once a month to honor our students. So thank you, Rotary.
Let's not forget the parents of those students, because without the parents supporting their children, they wouldn't be recommended for Students of the Month. So thank you again to the parents also.
Since we're including everyone, let's also keep in mind the particular teachers that work with those particular students that come, that have recommended that student to the building principal. Just listening to some of the teachers explain why those particular students were nominated, from the elementary school level, from the junior high level, as well as the high school, you can see the relationship and the bond that those teachers are having with those particular students, and you can see how that is just helps them in their growth and the support that's given. So a lot of times, let's keep in mind, it's not so much what the teacher does within the classroom, but it's also what the teacher does to help a student grow in many other aspects of their lives besides what's in the classroom. And it's definitely reflected at these monthly luncheons.
Thank you, Trustee Sloshower. Moving right along, if we have no other comments, none, I don't see any. Superintendent's report, 5.01, Part 2 presentation of the Capitol meeting, also with John Sharkey.
Thank you, President McFarland. I do have some comments prior to the presentation. I want to thank Trustee Johnson for mentioning the Law Enforcement Appreciation Day ceremony that we had at the district office on January the 9th. As I've always said, the top priority in our district is the safety and security of our staff and students. It will remain that way. I want to thank members from all 15 of our school buildings who also had recognition events in honor of the work that our law enforcement agencies do. We could not do it without you. You are vital to the success of our students. And I will tell you that if you don't have a safe school environment, people are not going to reach their highest potential, whether that's teaching or learning. And I know he may not appreciate this, but we do have a deputy sheriff in the back of the room. Can we give him a round of applause? And thank you for your service. Thank you. That includes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. We have a presentation from our architect firm. I'd like to bring up Mr. Sharkey. And this is where we're out.
Yeah.
The flip one. It doesn't work.
Go old school.
We could get the overhead audio. I used to be the monitor. Yeah.
Do your thing. Turn on. Says it's on.
I'm not gonna mess with it. All right. All right, thank you. Without further ado, past the technical difficulties, thank you for your time tonight. I'm just going to go through the presentation. We're going to talk about the proposed 2025 capital project, site improvements, potential additions at the Van Wyck and Wap Junior High Schools, building improvements, and we'll go over cost estimate per building and any overall cost of the project. So the site improvements include the areas you see in the brighter green colors there for Royce Ketchum High School. We're looking to do new artificial turf, soccer and softball field with portable bleachers and lights, 8 new tennis courts on the lower end of the field there, and then new fencing at the softball field. Site improvements at John Jay, some of similar things, new artificial turf soccer, softball field, portable bleachers and lights. We're looking to do press box renovations and concession stand. If you look at the photo down in the lower left-hand corner, that's kind of a rendering of what we're looking to do at that, over the existing press box that's there now. Additional parking below the baseball field. And then reconstruction of the walkway down from the feature field. Right now it's a little steep, so we're going to try to level that out and make it a little easier access. And then we're looking at also potential additional road out to Patriot Way if there's room on the site to do that. But we'd have to get into some reviews with DOT and things like that to make sure they allow that. But that'll be part of the investigation. Additional site improvements throughout the district. Van Wyck Junior High School, we're going to reconstruct the fields out in the back for proper drainage. We can't get too deep into there because there's septic and leach fields out there, so we got to try to improve it as best we can. New basketball court, added athletic field lighting there as well, new press box, concession stand and bleachers, and a walking track around the site, and then reconstruct the back drive loop and improve drop-off parking in the front of the building. Wappingers Junior High School, some similar things, add athletic field lighting, new press box, concession stand, portable bleachers, replace some of the deteriorated entrance steps in the front of the building. If you see, come in the main entrance, some areas there, the district did a lot of nice work there, new sidewalks and driveways, but the steps and some of the entrances to the buildings need to be done. And then there's a potential purchase of an adjacent property. We're in the process of doing a feasibility study for that and a phase one assessment to see if that's something the district wants to do. Myers Corners Elementary, we're doing a traffic study there right now to look at the site feasibility to get better inflow and outflow of traffic on that site and to potentially add additional parking. We're also looking to do a digital display sign at the site entry for more, more display there. Brinkerhoff Elementary, reconstruct driveway and parking lots and sidewalks. It's beyond its useful life there. Fishkill Elementary, similar, reconstruct some driveways, parking lots, and add exterior lighting at the front of the building. Gayhead, upgrade site lighting. There was a lot of site work there done over there over the past few years, so pretty much all we really need there is site lighting. And then Sheaf Road Elementary, reconstruct the basketball court and upgrade some ramps into the building to comply with American with Disabilities Act. So as far as the additions, we're looking to do additions at the Van Wyck Junior High School for the 6th grade to be moved over to that facility. Based on the enrollments and projections, those gray areas we're thinking is where would be a good spot to do the additions. It would be 16 classrooms for those students, and then in order to do that, we'd also need to do an expansion on the existing cafeteria, whether it's exactly where we show it or over in an area over to the right. We have to get into the design about that a little bit, but that would be the addition. The additions would be about 23,650 square feet, roughly. Similar additions at the WAP Junior High School, along with moving 6th grade over there and having classrooms, we're also looking at some better use of the existing building. For instance, if you know the building here, the cafeteria is on the 2nd floor, not a great location. So we're looking to move that down to the 1st floor. They're also looking to have some bigger band rooms and music spaces because right now they're kind of landlocked inside the building, not really usable. So it gives us the opportunity to move some spaces out into the gray areas there, and also a potential link from the 6th grade wing to the back. So it's a lot easier to get around inside the building, more area to move around. And then also as part of that, we would renovate the old cafeteria space into 4 classrooms. We'd be able to get about 4 standard-sized classrooms there and a small group room for district use. Building improvements throughout the rest of the district. Royce C. Ketchum, and a lot of these have similar issues at the buildings, is repoint the original brick, which is basically new mortar joints. If you let mortar joints go too long, then the brick starts to fail or spall, so it's good to get that done. So the intent would be to do that. Replace the science wing roof towards the back of the building. That's beyond its warranty. Replace some old ceilings and modify toilet rooms for handicap accessibility. There's some original electrical panels that really should be upgraded, and looking at upgrading the PA system. We're also looking to renovate the technology classrooms. A lot of the layouts and equipment and things in there are original to the building, and technology's come a long way over the last few years even, so we're looking to renovate that. Renovate the large group instruction room and provide a handicap ramp at the gymnasium entrance so people don't have to travel too far through the building to get to facilities. John Jay High School, a lot of the same things, repoint original brick, replace old ceilings and electrical panels, PA system, again, renovate the technology classrooms so the schools kind of match each other. Renovate the large group room and increase the electrical service to the building. There's been quite a few additions to the building and upgrades, and the electrical service is getting to the point where it needs to be upgraded to the entire facility. Van Wyck Junior High School, again, some similar things, repoint brick, old ceilings, modify the toilet rooms, replace original electrical panels, add cooling to the auditorium and the gymnasium, and replace steam piping in the tunnels, unit ventilators, and add exhaust fans in the classrooms. The steam piping in that building is in very poor shape. It's down in the tunnels, and it's very difficult for the district to get down there and do repairs, and it's just going to be an ongoing issue until it gets replaced. And then replaces asbestos floor tile at some classroom floors. There's some floors in there that are in pretty rough shape. Wappingers Junior High School, again, repoint original brick. The entire roof there is beyond warranty other than a couple of small areas, so we're looking to do that. Also add cooling at the auditorium and gym, replace old ceilings, electrical panels, again, modify, excuse me, modify the health suite and toilet rooms to comply with ADA, and refinish some classroom wood floors that are older and in need of repair. Brinkerhoff Elementary, again, repoint brick, replace some old ceilings, modify toilets and electrical panels, Fishkill, a lot of the same systems. We do need to do the main switchgear in that building. There's some fairly old electrical panels there, and it's not really not state of the art, but it's not a main switchgear. It really needs to be upgraded, so we're looking to do that. Fishkill Plains Elementary, replace some original electrical panels. We did a lot of work there over the last several years, so there's not much to do there except renovate a couple of toilet rooms. Gayhead, repoint brick, replace ceilings, add exhaust ventilation, and modify some toilet rooms for handicap accessibility there as well. James Evans, same items, original brick, old ceilings, old electrical panels, fire alarm system, and upgrade PA system. So a lot of the schools are pretty close to the same age other than Fishkill Elementary, so the systems that are old or failing in some of the other buildings are all close to the same age, so they really need to all be done at the same time. There we go. Kinry Road, we're looking to replace the primary electrical feed to the building. That needs an upgrade. And a few other same things, repoint the original brick, old ceilings. The roof there is well beyond warranty. It's probably the one roof in the district that really needs to be done as soon as possible, so we're looking at that. Replace some air handlers, upgrade ventilation in the cafeteria and gym, and replace a fire alarm system and add an elevator. That building is, I believe, the only one now in the district that doesn't have an elevator. Myers Corners Elementary, we're going to repoint the original brick, replace the roof again, same, replace some ceilings and fire alarm system. Oak Grove Elementary, that roof is also beyond warranty. We're looking to replace exhaust fans and unit ventilators, fire alarm systems, modify toilet rooms for handicap accessibility. And Sheaf Road, reconstruct basketball court, repoint original brick and corridor ceilings, fire alarm system, exhaust, and add some cooling to some of the data rooms. So like I said, a lot of the same systems. Vassar Road, continuing on, original brick, corridor ceilings. The boilers actually need to be replaced at that school. We're also looking to replace exhaust fans, unit ventilators, and rooftop units. Add air conditioning in some of the interior rooms. They should have cooling in those spaces, and replace some old electrical panels. Facilities and operations, we're looking to replace the roof there. That's also out of warranty, and upgrade the fire alarm system. District office and alternate high school, there's some original brick and concrete block that needs to be repointed. And we need to replace some air conditioning units and repair, a small repair to some exterior stairs just to maintain them. Bus garage number 2, similar, repoint original brick, upgrade emergency lights, and reconstruct the remaining pavement. We did a lot of the pavement there on the site where the bus parking is, but there's some small areas that should be replaced. Just a couple of photos to give you an idea if you haven't been through the buildings. Those horrible looking upper right hand corner pictures in the left there are the steam pipes in the crawl spaces at Van Wyck. Ron's crew and those guys have been doing a great job doing the repairs, but you can only repair it. If you repair a section of pipe and then 4 feet down the line, something goes wrong. Like, in your house, when you fix something down the line goes out of whack. So that needs to be replaced. The roofs, that roof there is actually the roof on this building in the middle photo where some of the seams are coming loose. So the ongoing repairs are costing the district more than it would actually cost to repair the roof over, several years. So it's definitely worth doing that. The very interesting tile pattern on the lower photo is some repairs that were done to some classrooms and some of that is vinyl asbestos tile. So rather than patching it in, it's a good time to just go in there and redo the floors in the school. And in the lower right-hand corner is, I mentioned some of this place, I think that's a photo of right outside where some of the brick is spalling and needs to be repointed. So the cost. We did a breakdown of the cost per building, so we have them all listed there on the left-hand side, just to give you an idea of what would be spent. Obviously, WAP Junior and Van Wyck have the lion's share of the cost because of the additions that go on there. But if you total all that up, we come up to a construction cost of $126,039,000, and then there's an incidental cost of $27,729,000. And if you see on the bottom there, the incidental costs are actually costs that the district would have for hazardous material testing as you're doing this work. All the areas have to be tested for hazardous materials prior to construction. There's geotechnical testing. If you're going to do an addition, you have to get out there with some rigs and make sure that there's nothing under the ground or check the soil conditions. There would be stormwater pollution plans that have to be done. Anytime you do an addition now, you have to have a plan for any runoff of construction activities, any water, things like that. So we'd have to work on that. Special inspections testing while construction's going on. The district's required to have a third-party testing agency that oversees, steel erection, concrete pours, things like that. And then construction insurance, furniture and equipment for any renovated classrooms, legal fees, construction management, and design fees. So there's quite a bit in there in that incidental cost. The State Education Department recommends holding between 20 and 25% for incidentals, and I think we have it at about 22.5%, like somewhere in the middle to have a good number.
Can you just briefly explain SED on the aid for the 53.4%?
Yes.
Which is about $82 million.
Yeah. So the district has an SED aid ratio of 53.4%, which means for every dollar the district spends, SED gives you back 53.4 cents. So it comes out to, I don't know the calculator, but it's about 82 and change. $82 million that the State Education Department through New York State would reimburse the district for this project. So it's not all the money's not on the district. Capital project schedule. So the next vote would be May 2025. The intent would be, if the vote is successful, to submit Phase 1 documents to the New York State Education Department. We'll work on a schedule to see what's important to get done first. We would start small projects in the summer of 2026. It does take, SED right now is at about a 20-week review time. So even if the vote's successful in May, there's really no chance to get anything done the first summer because you're into the summer already. So the work would start next summer. The start of Phase 1 construction projects, for instance, the additions would start in the summer of 2027 because there's roughly an 8-month design time, and then depending on where SED is at, then they have a 4 to 5 month review time. So that puts you out into the summer of 2027 for a start. And then we're anticipating a 3 to 4 year timeline for construction of all these projects to take that place, because the additions could be done during a school year, but most of the other, 90% of the other work has to be done in the summer when the kids are out of school. And I think that is the last slide.
So just for the rest of the board, the purpose of having this into 2 presentations was, as you can see, there's a slight increase from our first presentation to the second presentation. That was due to some additional discussions we were having and waiting for some additional information with regards to estimated costs and a review back on the 5-year building condition survey on some particular items to figure out exactly how we were going to handle, as well as some of the additional cost. We were also waiting for some information with regards to the enrollments for sixth grade to make sure that the additions would have sufficient classroom space if in fact the project was approved and sixth grade was moved back in. We needed to make sure there was sufficient space based on enrollments that would be coming over from the elementary schools. So there's about a $2.5 or $3 million change in terms of the total cost of the project from the first presentation 2 weeks ago to the second presentation. So if there's a question as to why everything kind of looks 95% the same, we want it to be as close as possible to an accurate number for the board to review. So that was the difference of the total cost from the first presentation to the total cost for this presentation. So I guess we can now, if everyone's come back to the stage, and then we can answer some questions if my fellow board members have some additional questions based on the presentations. So I'm sure there's a few questions, so what I'd like to do, I'm just going to go around the table, just to make it easy, so we're just not talking over each other and going back and forth. So I'd like to start at the end. So Trustee Capillari, any specific questions for the committee or for
No,
Mr.
not at this
Sharkey?
time.
Okay. Trustee Morgan?
I defer at this time.
Trustee Miggets?
Yes, I have two questions.
Okay.
The first is, from back when I was on the Capital Committee, as we were projecting forward, looking to the point where we were going to have to address these things, I've always believed in emphasizing needs over wants. And I just want to make it clear, my understanding, Mr. Sharkey, when you talk about the need to repoint the bricks, this is something that's not cosmetic, it's for the structural integrity of the buildings, am I correct?
Yes. Yeah, the repointing, what happens is when moisture or frost gets in behind the mortar, it starts to spoil the face of the brick, so if you don't repoint it, eventually you'll have to replace the brick itself.
We've never done point.
Thank you. And my other question is in regard to the handicapped accessible facilities in our buildings. I think it is absolutely unconscionable that this far after the ADA was passed, we still have areas of our buildings where if families are attending programs, family members who are wheelchair users or on a day-to-day basis, our students are unable to access to relieve themselves. And I just want to make sure that if this project goes forward, we'll be able to rectify that so that there are facilities available for handicapped individuals in all of our buildings.
Yeah, I think if you saw the presentation, pretty much every building we're doing renovations in the toilet rooms. As we've been doing projects throughout the district, any new facilities have been ADA acceptable. This is the first broad project where we're able to address it at each building. So that's the intent.
Also keep in mind, Trustee Miggets, with regards to Kinry, with regards to handicap accessibility, the need for the elevator in that building is a top priority.
Yes, that's long overdue in Kinry. Thank you.
Trustee Odoms.
Thank you. I had a question. It's regarding page 12. We have about 10 elementary schools. We do have about 10 elementary schools. Wouldn't it be more cost-effective and efficient? We're doing repetitive repairs. Wouldn't it be more cost-effective if we at least built 1 or 2 elementary schools for each side of the district, have a campus instead of having these redundant repairs that continue to occur? That way, when you have a new project, a new construction, new building, you could also push out those maintenance issues 10 to 15 years.
You want to take that one? You want me to?
We can both do it. Well, we were asked by the district to take a look a while back to see what it would take to do a new elementary school. And the price tag roughly would be, for someone similar to Myers Corners, would be about $60 million just for the building and site work, not the facility. We believe you'd need, a property somewhere around the neighborhood of 20 to 25 acres in order to build a school. Part of that has to do with, finding a good location for it. You do get aid for the renovations. SED's been kind of tough lately on funding new construction. So I think a whole new school might be a tough sell through SED with the budgeting and everything. We're running into that in some other districts where parts of projects that were previously aidable they're not aiding. So it would be a kind of a tough sell. They've kind of told us that, look, if you can renovate your existing buildings or improve them, that's what they're looking to do.
The other challenge is, especially on the south side, is I don't believe there is a 20 to 25 acre parcel that would be available that would even have the basic infrastructure of water or sewer to even look at that. And then again, the SED requirements. So then trying to do that on both sides of the district, I don't know how SED would even, the challenge of trying to do one building, the fact that asking them to approve the district to do two large elementary schools. And then if my thinking is correct based on your question, then what do we do with our existing buildings if we're building two larger elementary schools? What do we not then renovate the existing buildings? Because if we're still going to use them, they still need to have the upgrades for the students that are still going to be in those particular buildings. So it's a good idea to a degree, but overall, from a cost-effective standpoint and logistics, I don't think it's something we would consider. And I don't know if Dr. Bach would want to give his opinion on that, because we did briefly have discussions about that in committee, but it just, with all the information that we got, this seemed the most efficient, the most cost-effective, as well as the least resistance from SED, because unfortunately, they control everything, and it's a yes or a no. So as much as we would want it, if they don't want it, they want to do it, they're not going to support it and allow us to do it.
Thank you, Vice President Sloshar. I would be more than happy to give my opinion, and this is just my opinion. We have how much work that is recommended be done in this district by the last report we got on capital expenses of what needed to be done?
We were, I believe, a little in excess of $100 million, and in our last two small bond projects, we've, I think, addressed about 20 to 25% of that. There's roughly 70+ million, and that was done in 2021. And in all honesty, we've had, unfortunately, several other major infrastructure issues since that report was first done, and we're going to have to file another report in 2026. So we're trying to be proactive because we have a pretty good idea what we think is going to be on that report that's going to come in as unsatisfactory. So we're trying to address it now so that 2026 is not going to have another $100+ million. So that was the thought process of the committee.
Yeah, and I want to thank the Capital Improvement Committee. I also want to thank Architect Sharkey for all the work that has been done. My opinion, and again, it's just my opinion, is we have a lot of work to do. And we have elementary school buildings right now that are pretty close to capacity. As a matter of fact, and Mr. Lokema could speak to this, most of them are. We all know that the landscape of education and expectations is much different after the COVID pandemic. We need to do more. We need to provide more services. We need to provide more programs, which means we need more classrooms. So when you take a look at where we are moving forward, the only area that we have open space is in our high schools, which has had declining enrollment. But I can tell you that the bubble is going to eventually reach the high schools. So in my opinion, the most prudent way to move forward, especially based upon, Mr. Sharkey, what you indicated, you're talking about $60 million in construction costs to build a new elementary school. And you would also be responsible for acquiring the land. You would need probably about 15 to 20 acres if that land were even available. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Sorry. What do you think that the total cost of a project to build a new elementary school in this district would be if you were going to build your, I think, relatively average elementary school in many school districts of maybe around 500 students? Even though we exceed that in some of our buildings, that tends to be the average of most districts' elementary schools. How much do you believe that that would run?
Well, I had mentioned the construction cost for the building itself would be $60 million.
Right.
The property, I couldn't even guess what you would
Would
pay
you
for
say it
this
would
area.
be, so in terms of the total cost from project from start to finish, would you say that it would be accurate to say that it would probably be somewhere up between $70 and $85 million?
By the time you got done with site development and, properties here, I'm sure not.
And that's as of right now, and that's only going to increase as we move forward.
Yeah, those are numbers
So
we're
when
using
you
for
take
right
a
now.
look at this project, you're talking about what was just shared, and you're looking at $158 million to be able to do improvements to some degree at all 15 of our school buildings. Based upon the capacity issues that we have in the elementary schools and the need to provide more services and programs and more classrooms, not even looking at enrollment growth on certain ends of the district and not necessarily on all of them, we really, in my opinion, have two options over the foreseeable future. The first option would be to take the sixth grade and put the sixth grade in the junior high schools, and they would become middle schools, and they would be 6 through 8. We have mandatory UPK. We currently have 4 programs operating in 4 of our schools, and we have 5 programs operating outside of our schools. The response from our community has been a tremendous one in support of UPK. I would like to think at some point, we would be able to put our UPK programs in all of our neighborhood schools so that these individuals would not have to travel, that they would have a seamless UPK through 5th grade in one building, in one location, hopefully in their neighborhood. The 6th grades would move on to the prospective middle schools, junior high schools that are within their feeder region. I wouldn't see any reason for that to change. And then they would move on to high school for 9 through 12. Another advantage of taking the 6th grade and putting it in at the middle level is that you have an opportunity to expose some of those high-achieving 6th graders into classes and coursework that is being offered to potentially 7th or 8th graders. So they have an opportunity to begin to acclimate to higher level learning quicker than they would if they were in the elementary school setting, following the elementary school schedule and the elementary school curriculum for 6 years. In addition to that, you have the ability to increase the amount of opportunities for students since they're not going to be doing a transition for 2 years. I don't know how familiar, I see a lot of parents in the audience. It generally takes 6 months for a student to acclimate to a new school. If you're doing a transition for 2 years, you're halfway through the first year, you become acclimated to the next school, to that school, and then next year you're leaving and you're thinking about where you're going to go next. In the event that that does not happen, the way I see it, there are two, if this project does not get approved as it is, from my perspective, there's 2 choices the district would have. The first choice would be to redistrict the elementary schools. And the second choice in the absence of that would be to take the 8th graders and move them into the high schools so that we could accommodate the 8th grade in the high school and have our high school 8 through 12 and then have our junior high school would be 6 and 7. I don't support that theory. I believe that what is being presented this evening for the long-term viability of the school district in planning our future and building for our future, I believe that this is the proper way to move forward, in my opinion, for the reasons that I've just shared. Again, that's just my opinion. I believe this community expects and deserves the best. Our newest facility was built in 1969. We've done much work over the past 10-plus years. We have much more work to be done. I believe that we've just started this project, and I believe we need the opportunity to finish it, and I believe that our community will be supportive of what we're indicating right here, because they know that it's going to impact, to some degree, every student that goes to school within our school district. So that's my perspective, just my perspective alone.
Thank you, Dr. Bonk. Anything else, Trustee Odoms? Okay, thank you. Moving along, Trustee Johnson? Well, I was going to go back that way to the president. Okay, I'm sorry. Trustee Kellen?
All right. I'd like to share my personal experience because I taught sixth grade in Wappingers, both when the sixth graders were in the elementary school and when they moved to sixth grade centers in the junior highs, and some of them were in the elementary schools. I still work with children that age through the Girl Scouts. Sixth graders are going through a transition to adolescence. They benefit from being with peers and adults who have known them for years. When they rebel, as they often do, it's people who know them take it in context, and they tend to do much better. They also are at their best when given leadership opportunities with younger children, mentoring, tutoring, demonstrating a project or a skill. The research bears that out. There has been research done in Connecticut, New York City, Florida, and Philadelphia, and it has found, basically, I have all the papers here, sixth graders in middle school have more behavioral problems than their peers in elementary school. Sixth graders in elementary school test higher than those in middle school. There is a small drop at whatever age they switch to middle school or junior high, but it's greatest if they switch in sixth grade rather than in seventh or eighth. Sixth graders in middle school are exposed to older teens, which may have a negative influence on them. And
I'd like to, excuse me one second, can I propose that we add 15 minutes for discussion?
So moved.
Second.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Thank you, Marie.
So moved, thank you.
15 minutes isn't for you.
Sixth graders in middle school are exposed to older teens, which may have a negative influence on them. It's especially children with mental health problems, poor economics and social circumstances, and low achievers who have this deficit. Middle schools are usually larger than elementary schools. The children tend to get lost in it. When we had the separate centers, or in the case of Van Wyck, they were at Van Wyck, there was no interaction with the secondary schools. The two faculties were completely separated. We never interacted as elementary school teachers with the secondary school teachers, but the children were suddenly thrown in with children from other schools and teachers from other schools. They didn't know them, and also my children went through this situation, both of them. And finally, middle schools tend to be located further from home than elementary schools, and the parents do not have the same involvement as to the degree they did in elementary school. Furthermore, why wasn't a full study and community input sought before this major change was made in not only the grade configuration, but a major addition to the junior high. If we build these additions without going to the community first, it will lock us in for many years to this pattern of school assignment. As Mr. Odoms pointed out, the growth in the district consistently for the last 30 years has been in the southern part of the district. Other districts have the problem, more populated than ours, that they have to get a new school. We should look into that as an alternative. In the early 90s, because of the downsizing of IBM, Kinry Road was closed. They had to reopen it 3 years later. Population trends are uneven, and you can't always predict them. Neighboring districts such as Arlington and Spackenkill built schools that they wound up having to close, in some cases to try to sell, because population changed. We cannot really tell, unless we do a firm study, what the trends will be in the here. First of all, the birth rate is still declining. We have had more people move into this area after the pandemic because they could work from home. Many companies are reversing their policies, insisting people work at the office. How will that affect population trends? The incoming administration in Washington says it will deport millions of immigrants. Whether or not they do, there will be, obviously, if anything is done, there would be some impact, since we have a number of people in this district from other countries with children. I have no idea whether they're illegal or here legitimately or not. That could be affected. Otherwise, if people leave larger cities and states and decide they can hide more effectively here, we don't know. There's also suggestions that the new administration promises substantial new tariffs. How will that affect local businesses? Do they have imports that will be affected? Do they export? Will that affect the employment position? Furthermore, the new administration favors charter schools, federal vouchers, and/or federal tax credits for private education. Will that have an effect? We don't know. Finally, any substantial population growth should be taken into consideration. We should do a study. I was on the committee the first year I was in the board for the redistricting. The district had done many studies. They had commissioned investigated the situation. There was a great deal of community input, and this time, this has all been neglected. The Capital Improvement Committee minutes from last spring did not show any indication of building new additions or of grade reconfiguration. I read them. I was no longer on the Capital Improvement Committee. We had other people on it, so I was not at the meetings, but I read the minutes, and there was no information at all. The first I heard about it was at Dr. Bonk's orientation for welcoming the new teachers, when he told the new teachers before he told the board about these plans.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
It is accurate. I read the minutes.
Not accurate. That is not accurate.
When did you tell me?
I respectfully disagree. These
Nobody
conversations
told us.
have been had for a year and a half.
No, it has not been with me or with Mr. Lumia, with other members of the board.
Mr. Lumia sat at the table and oversaw the Capital Improvement Committee as board president and was there for these conversations.
Yes, back when he was board president, I was on the Capital Improvement Committee years ago, and we did not hear anything at that time.
I think that my statement speaks for itself as to how I feel. I will leave it up to the Board of Education, who is responsible for voting and making the decision in regards to this project. I will leave it up to the board. But I do not appreciate inaccurate information.
I do not appreciate not being informed.
Trustee
listen.
Trustee Lumia?
Thank you, Trustee Cullen. I appreciate it.
President McFarland,
Yes, sir.
I have an issue with that. I want to go on the record.
Okay, go ahead.
Trustee
Like I said,
Sloshow,
okay.
thank you again for
Thank
that
you.
answer. Thank
I
you
want
again
to
for
be on the record
my answer.
also.
I think we're all on the record.
All right. Can we
Mr.
continue,
Trustee
please? I think
Lumia,
it's my turn.
are we advancing that way, Mr. Sloshower? Mr. Lumia now?
Yes, Mr. Lumia?
Thank you.
You know, if I may just say, maybe we should put it up to the community and see how they feel. They're the ones that are the most important.
Thank you,
Certainly,
Dr.
that's what I was suggesting.
With the possible exception of Peggy,
Okay, can I just, we respect everyone's comments and opinions, but for right now, we're not making any decisions on anything tonight. We have the architect here. Are there any specific questions
yeah,
pertaining
I got a lot
to
of
the
questions, so let's
project?
continue, please.
Fine,
I'm
and
the
then
architect, yes.
obviously, opinions are more than welcome, but can we get just some questions if you have any for the architect? And for the overall scope of the project, and then opinions are more than welcome. Thanks.
I think we should have a discussion on the project and consequences of those projects. So let me say what I want to say, all right, if you don't mind. With the possible exception of Peggy, who taught at the elementary level, I'm not sure whether most of us on the board are experts to determine which grade configuration is best for students should we adopt the capital project in its totality. Some research states that K-8 is the best. Other research states that K-6 configuration students are in a smaller school which provide more opportunities to develop leadership skills, increase responsibility compared to middle school model where there might just be one of many in a larger student body. I'm sure that other research advocates for different educational plans. There are many legitimate reasons to why we changed grade configuration and didn't need to redistrict years ago. I was an advocate for that change while Mr. Carey was superintendent. I'm still of the mindset that we should keep the K-6 model, since data shows that students experience education decline when they enter 6th and 8th grade. Unfortunately, we have to deal with the reality that elementary enrollment is increasing, and we are told that our elementary buildings are busting to the seams. Just a few years ago, the school population was close to 12,000. People will say, why build additions when the population is now 10,500? Although this is true, we are facing new housing developments that will increase student enrollment. If we keep the present configuration, can we handle the influx without significant increase in class size? Let me say that I respect the work done by the Capital Committee in identifying needed improvements. However, with the possible looming budget of over $320 million, I'm concerned about the present economic conditions, that if we put in place the total recommendation by the Capital Committee, even though the state will reimburse us 53 cents on the dollar, I'm confident that our community will bear the possible significant tax increase should there be significant decrease in state funding towards our budget and building a foundation. Let me just ask some questions as to what happens if we adopt this plan. Will adding wings at the middle school and change grade configuration improve the education of our students and solve long-term influx of students? What additional cost, besides building construction, will be associated if we adopt the committee recommendations? Do we need to hire additional APs, teachers, as well as additional support services such as guidance counselors? What would be the associated cost? What is the projection for future housing developments, which will increase student enrollment? Are we guaranteed that 5-6 years from now, the student population, more and more people are going to come in? Unfortunately, as I said, we have to look at these things before we decide what plans we should adopt. There should be discussion. And again, no discussion is really taking place look, when I was in the committee, we talked internally that we had to be built. There's no question about it. But there's never been a truly discussion as to what plans we should adopt at this board level. Things have been discussed in capital committees, but I don't think it's ever been discussed as a committee, as a group. And I think that should happen. And we should get the committee out there, but the parents involved to see what do they think.
I have a question, but we just talk about repairs right now. We're not talking about reconfigurations.
Repair, no, we're talking about buildings.
No, we talk about repairing the
No,
buildings.
and we also added two additions.
Two small additions.
I know,
yes.
but we,
Guys,
this is just a proposal.
Can we just let can Mr. Lumia
It's just
finish?
a proposal.
And then, so we can, and Ms. Johnson can have her time for questions and answers.
If I can ask for a point of order, my understanding with this was not a meeting to vote on this tonight, correct?
It is not. It is a
what I thought.
presentation of what was discussed at the capital committee level. This was a presentation of a project that we're presenting to the board.
I'd like to propose that we add 10 minutes.
One last question, please.
Wait, we have to add time.
Okay. All in favor? Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
No vote? So I don't get to speak?
All in favor?
Just one question.
Any opposed? Nobody opposed?
Just one last thing.
Okay.
And the Myers Corners Elementary, I know there's a site feasibility study to investigate improved vehicles access to site. Does that include a parking, what do you call it, a light at the whatever we decide at the?
The study's being done for it, yes.
I know, but whatever study's done, will a light be included? Because that's a very dangerous place to.
Yes,
we did-
DOT, that is part of what the feasibility is being done, what's being looked at, and let's remember that that's DOT. So whether we want one or don't want one, it doesn't matter, because it's DOT that's either going to approve it or not approve it.
Well, then we better fight for the DOP to approve such a thing, because it's a very dangerous situation.
We're right now, as part of the feasibility study with the traffic study, not only being looked at by the architect, but also by the town of Wappinger.
Thank you, Mr. Sloshower.
You're welcome. Ms. Johnson?
Sorry, Trustee Johnson, I thought you had waived your opportunity to speak. I'm sorry. All right.
Ms. Johnson, any
Have your question.
questions
Yes,
for
I
the
have
architect
I
on
have
the
a few
project?
points of clarifications in our budgets. So a good chunk of this, Van Wyck Junior High School, yes, we do have the two additions, but the steam leaks, as somebody whose husband does the steam work for New York City in the ground, those pipes, as you saw, that's a huge chunk of this to finish off the piping in that particular middle school. Now, the way steam works is when you fix one, 4 other weaker spots are going to definitely blow, and you're going to have a lot more steam leaks. And pretty much the pipes in that building have hit their useful life, and it's now basically duct taping it together. When we go to this new full piping through the whole building, this will also enable us to be able to go in the future, as we did with the Fishkill Plains, where we were able to put AC in. This would eventually allow us to go down that same road because we'd have the correct piping in. Is that correct?
Yes, the intent is to replace all the steam piping. All the new piping will be up in the ceiling, so we won't have to get down in tunnels anymore, but it'll be all new piping, yes.
Okay. Also, there's a lot of roofs on here. There's a lot of boilers and electrical panels. The amount that we're talking now in WAP Junior, currently, we have to have our band and choir only get to use the auditorium, which means we are unable to do other activities in here when they're holding classes. So these additions is a huge part with some technical classrooms and music classrooms, which we do not currently have in this building as is. So that part of the addition would be a must, even if you did not look at the sixth grade portion of it. The other aspects is a lot of ADA bathrooms. The majority of this project that we're looking at is actually regarding extreme necessities. We are looking to bring UPK 100% into district. I know that's something we all would want instead of sourcing it out to other facilities where we don't have the control over being able to give them the full UPK experience that our classes in district are having. By being able to move the sixth to the middle school, which all of New York City is on the K-5 and 6-8 program, the sixth grade would move up, we would have more room for the UPK. Also, we are experiencing a very large boom in our special ed, which is smaller classes, which means we need to have more classrooms. So by doing this, it's allowing us to get those classrooms. But I would like to point out that the repointing and the roofs, the ADA bathrooms, all of this is necessary repairs in order for us to go forward. And as you said, there is a district that put it through and now they're not getting the funding because they tried to build a new school without getting the proper, fixing their current buildings. So as far as this goes, I don't see anything really unnecessary on this. And in order to have safe, secure environments for our students and staff, I think we need to follow through with these current plan that we have sitting here.
Thank you. President McFarland, do you have any questions for Mr. Sharkey?
I have no questions. I'd just like to thank the Capital Committee, John Sharkey, and everybody that was involved coming up with some sort of repair plan for our existing buildings. So I just want to thank everybody again. I believe Mr. Morgan has a question.
Of the approximately $152 million proposal that was discussed earlier this evening, by my calculations, 81 million of that is not related to any addition. Of that money, what percentage is, because it's broken out by school but not by work item, what percentage of the money is absolutely necessary, like the repointing and the ADA compliant bathrooms and the things like that? Is there anything of that 81 million that's not absolutely necessary?
So let's make it simple. If you wanted to remove the two additions from the middle, from the middle schools, okay, we'd probably be looking at a $125 million project. That would cover, that will give or take. So if you remove the additions out of here, it's about 30 million. No, with everything else, just taking out the two additions.
You still got to do the steam pipes and everything else. That's not.
Okay, so just, because we're having a discussion, we have differences of opinion on whether we should do the additions or not.
What do we really need to do to preserve our physical plan, which for some decades in the history of this district has been neglected, for lack of a better word?
So going off the 2021 building condition survey, and the architect can correct me if I'm wrong, we have about $70+ million left from that report in 2021. Since 2021, we've had additional failures, infrastructure-wise, that have been identified. So you could add another 45 plus $40 million to that, 45 million to that, which brings us up to around the 120. So I'm just throwing it out, excluding the two additions. which was discussed at the committee level to identify the items that the superintendent explained, a bit of what his vision is for moving forward, the challenges that exist, him thinking bringing UPK into the buildings, the extra space. We lack space in our special education department. I believe, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, we've discussed having each building would have the services that are needed, so students wouldn't be transported across the district because their home school building did not have the program, and we'd be eliminating that student sitting on a bus for, I don't know, a special ed student sitting on a bus or a van for 45 plus minutes in the morning and 45 plus minutes coming home because their home school did not have the particular program. So I think part of his vision is that every building would have every special ed program that's needed for that particular student. And we can get into the savings on transportation costs and so forth on that. And then also let's keep in mind, which is also for both sides of the district, from my last recollection, from what's going on in the planning boards, especially in East Fishkill, there is a huge project under discussion right in town, which is going to add close to 500 units, 1,000 people, and that could be another 400 students, elementary age students, to go across the street to Gayhead, and I think Gayhead might be able to hold another 50 students. So we've took into consideration some of the feasibility that's going on the surrounding towns. There are projects in excess of 1,000 homes just between two towns, East Fishkill and town of Wappingers. So if we do nothing and those projects are built, where is that going to leave the district in 5 or 6 years? There's absolutely no room. And we're going to go to 35 students in a classroom. I don't think we're going to do that. So I know I'm digressing, and I apologize.
We need a motion for a few more minutes, please. Motion for 5 more minutes.
I'd like to make one comment, if I may.
Motion for 5 more minutes. Everybody's in favor?
So we can have further
Anyone
discussions
opposed?
on that
No,
area.
thank you.
So I'll defer to the superintendent at this point.
Thank you, Ed.
I would just, if I recollect, I believe I've said at numerous budget presentations of the vision to bring special education programs into every elementary school building. I believe I've said that, correct? Okay. And I think I've also said that in order to do that, we're going to have to look at the capacity levels of our elementary school buildings. I believe I've said that as well. The district for years has offered special education programs required by law, but they haven't necessarily been offered at every school. And I have been very public in saying that that needs to change. And I believe that this is one way to move to that end. I believe that a student, regardless of what their classification is, deserves the right to go to school in their own neighborhood school. I believe that this plan will do that, and this isn't the first time that I've mentioned this. So I would ask the Board of Education to please consider that as well when the board makes a decision, and it will be a board decision as to what proposition or what proposition will not be put up to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Mr. Lumia.
Proposition or propositions? I agree we should build. There's no question about it. And I think we should move in that direction. But at the same time, I'm concerned about the total cost added to our projected possible budget. So I think we should prioritize. I think that we should, by building to what do you call it, to adding, that will clear a lot of space at the elementary schools. And look, he's telling me he's going to be 300 students at Gayhead. I mean, to me, if that's true, maybe you should put an extension at that school. I don't know if that's a possibility.
He's up top working.
Well, one thing I can tell you is
I'm here,
that
Dr. Bond.
Darren, could you do me a favor? Could you?
I'm up here.
He I don't know who that is talking to me.
Hello.
Mr. Lokema,
The
since we
control
can't
board.
see you, but we can hear you. Boy, I love this setup. Anyway, Mr. Lokema, could you share, there you are up there. I'm sorry the people below can't see, but he is up in the balcony. My love to everybody up in the balcony. Mr. Lolkema, could you share since you oversee the enrollment and you are aware of the needs, can you share with Trustee Lumia and the board exactly what we look like for elementary? Could you share that, please?
Sure. We have a lot of pressure from a lot of different areas, right? So I'll give a couple of examples. There's been the express need and the vocal need to expand special education programs, specifically special classes or self-contained classes across some of our elementary buildings. And it's a challenge because we're out of classroom space. We can't add additional classrooms for additional continuums as been noted to be needed in several of our buildings. So in one regard, that makes a big difference, being able to alleviate space to accommodate those types of classrooms. And then just last week, Dr. Cardwell and I had a conversation about a bilingual program and the need that of our ever increasing, so our demographics in our district is changing, not just our enrollments, but our demographics are changing, and to the point where the state is saying that we actually, given a certain number and criteria, will be required to come up with a bilingual program or a plan to implement one. And Dr. Cardwell and I were talking about where a need could exist currently, but there isn't a classroom for which we could actually place the program into. And so between that and then you think about the upward pressure of our UPK classrooms, we have 2 UPK classrooms that are existing in modulars over at Fishkill Elementary. At some point in time, we're going to deem those modulars needing to be condemned and removed. And there's 2 more classrooms of UPK that will no longer be able to accommodate here in the district. So even just for example, if we were to go K-5, normally our special ed continuum classes for self-contained K-6 require 4 classrooms. Just by going to K-5 alone, so in the current continuum of K-6, we do a grade K, a 1-2, a 3-4, and a 5-6. That's 4 classrooms. Going to a K-5, we could do a K-1, a 2-3, and a 4-5. All of a sudden, a continuum only takes 3 classrooms instead of 4. So there's different ways to look at and explain how moving 6th grade up into the junior high, not even from an academic perspective, and I cannot speak to the data that Trustee Kellen spoke to, but I know that, and I agree that when Mr. Lumia said that there's examples and studies that say K-5 is better and K-6 is better, but when you take 6th grade out of our elementaries, we have room for growth, not just in future enrollment, but also in different sorts of programs, ones that will be required to actually provide. I hope that helps.
Thank you very much. Superintendent, you have anything else for me before I move on?
I've concluded.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your
Appreciate the
questions.
discussion. Thank you.
And thank you for your questions
Thank
and your
you,
comments.
John. I would say moving right along, but it's a slow process there. So moving to 5.02, K-8 Curriculum Instructions and Assessments by Dr. Cordwell. Whoops.
Kristen or Michelle, when this projector comes on, I just need you to select the presentation at the top of the screen. Or should I say, if the projector comes on. Kristen or Michelle, do you see it coming on? Can you see it? All right, good. It's coming. Wiggle the mouse. I'll be right down.
right, good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to present to you guys tonight. This is going to be so exciting and refreshing based upon all the information that we just heard. So I am excited to be here today to present to you some assessment data, and I see that you are also enjoying the excitement that we have about K through 8 curriculum and assessment. Just for some background information, in the spring of last year, 2024, the New York State, and that includes the Wappinger Central School District, we started computer-based testing for our 5th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders. This spring, we will have all of our students in grades 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 on computer-based testing. The only students who will test in the spring on paper will be those students that cannot take a computer-based test based upon anything that might be stipulated in their IEP or 504, and students who will need to take one of the state assessments in a language other than English. Also last year, in 2024, was the first time the 5th grade students and the 8th grade students took the science test based off of the New York State Science Learning Standards. And for June of this year, it will be the first time students and our 8th grade students do take the formerly known as the Earth Science Regents exam, the Earth and Space Science Regencies. So students in 8th grade will take the new Regents exam, and also the students at the high school who will take the formerly Earth Science will take the new course and Regents exam, Earth and Space Sciences. So just a little bit of background information. For ELA, we have a summary slide, so I won't go over each of the grades individually, even though those slides are up there for your review. We have been fairly consistent from year to year in how our students are performing at each particular level of proficiency. We also have up here the yellow are how the district has performed, and the blue is the district compared to New York State. And we have that for each of the grades. What is exciting about this slide for all you data nerds out there like myself, we have trend data for 5 years, and it's up there for each grade. This slide also talks about the consistency, or shows the consistency from grade to grade in how our students are performing at a proficient level. You'll see a couple of outliers, like the year 2021, which is the year right after COVID, which we were a little skeptical about those exams. You will notice that that is an outlier where most of the grades had improved, but then after that, we went around normalcy. So this shows you just some comparisons about all of our students performing at level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. The next set of slides is also exciting, the first time that we are able to share this type of data. I'm very excited about the different reports that we get. So there are 13 rows on this slide. Each of those rows represent a district in Dutchess County. Dutchess County has 13 districts. So for all students in grades 3 through 6 in ELA, the Wappinger Central School District, we are 4th in Dutchess County when you're looking at our proficiency rates of students in grades 3 through 6. I thought it was interesting. Did I break it, Darren? There we go. For grades 7 and 8, we are number 5 for ELA. I'm sorry, there's a delay. Okay, I'm not going to go over each individual slides for the grades. You did see the summary slide. As I said, they're up there for the board to look at. So some things we are doing in ELA in the district. Each year we do annual revisions of our curriculum. For the past 2 years, we have reworked our phonics curriculum for students in grades K to 2. We have staff that is in the process of modifying the grade 3 curriculum. That will be for phonics for the end of this school year. And we will also look at providing additional resources and lessons for students who still need assistance in phonics and phonemic awareness for grades 4. We also keep all of our instructional resources on the Leading and Learning website, in which all staff members have access to. Some things that are also exciting for New York State and exciting for us here in the district is that New York State has a literacy initiative that they put out to all districts last year, and this is the first year of implementation. A few staff members attended a workshop a couple of weeks ago, which really went into detail about what the expectations for each district is. So the literacy initiative has two different components. It allows the district to do a curriculum review based upon what each district's curriculum should include, and also what are some of those instructional practices that the state says we should make sure that we're seeing in our classrooms. And so I put a little bit of that information up here for you to review and just to see what some of those expectations are. But we're very excited here in the district that we have spent the past few years modifying our curriculum ahead of the science of reading work that has come out. We have had parent presentations, we've had professional development to staff on the science of reading and how we have modified the instructional resources we are using to really incorporate the phonemic awareness, how students are decoding. We have added a lot of student collaboration in our lessons. We have a lot of modeling, shared reading, and a lot of independent reading and independent work. So I am confident that after we conduct our curriculum review and look to see our literacy practices, I am sure we will be in alignment with what the state expects. All right, mathematics. All right, once again, it's the same format just to keep things simple. You will see each grade. We have the district in yellow and New York State in blue. This is very exciting, and I went to this slide quickly. You will notice that the number or percentages of students at each grade level who are proficient have actually increased substantially over the past few years in almost every single grade. We are in our second year of implementation of our new math curriculum, the iReady Math Classroom. There has been extensive professional development provided to our teachers on this, and we have seen progress over the past 2 years in how our students are performing academically in mathematics. And not to brag, but the district is number 2 out of the 13 districts in grades 3 through 6 math, and we are confident that we will be able to take that number 1 spot from 3 to 6. But we do have the number 1 spot for certain grades for between 3 through 6. But I don't have that slide for you, but if anyone wants to know, I will tell you privately. But we're excited about this because our teachers have worked very hard, and we will see some improvements as our students continue to move up to 7th grade, 8th grade, and the high school. For 7th and 8th grade math, we are number 5. They are similar to how they performed in ELA. And for math, New York State is coming out with numeracy briefs. So similarly how they did last year with literacy, the state is going to be working with each district through their local BOCES on what the math expectations are. So we will have staff members that are participating in these workshops and these work groups through NYSIT and DC BOCES. The first meeting of the numeracy briefs will be held at the end of February. For science, last year was the first year of the 5th grade and 8th grade science. That is based on the new assessments. It is also the first time that our 4th grade and 5th grade and 7th and 8th grade are required to do science labs aligned to the New York State learning standards and the science test. Any questions? I'll let you guys come up, I guess, and then you can ask me any questions. Darren, can you play some music while we have board members coming back up to the stage?
Mr. Thompson said he would sing for us.
You actually scared Dr. Bonk and myself with that voice from the sky. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Caldwell? Anyone? Mr. Morgan, Trustee Morgan.
Dr. Cardwell, for both ELA and mathematics, as you look at the continuum for 3 through 8, have each of, I'll say, the higher grades been consistent in terms of how they've performed, or in the most recent data, were there dramatic drops or dramatic improvements for a particular cohort?
We are seeing that our grade 8 students are not testing as well as other grades, and that could be for a number of reasons. Grade 8 still has the highest number of students that don't test. We also have grade 8 students that are taking readings exams and don't take the New York State ELA and/or math tests. That could have something to do with it. We also, as 8th graders, don't always take exams seriously. So there's a couple of things in play that are guesses about why students might not be performing so well in grade 8. But some of the things we are doing is that we are doing a curriculum review for math. We are looking at the instructional resources. We have been going into classrooms and looking at instructional practices just to see if we can make note of anything that is working well versus anything that might need some modifications. So there might be many things at play about why our students at the junior high school might not be performing as well as others, but we're still in the process of looking to see what could be those actual causes.
And over the past couple of years, since 2021, are you seeing that's consistent with 8th grade as opposed to the particular 8th grade that you had the data for up on the screen?
Yes, we have seen that for the past few years, that our 7th and 8th grade were declining. 7th grade did make an improvement this year, so we're excited to see that length of growth. So it will be interesting to see if this year's 8th grade assessment, we do see improvement because it was last year's 7th graders. So there are some things we're working on to figure out exactly what could be that cause. But yes, we have seen the junior high school 7th and 8th grade, those have been low for the past few years. But it's not only on the state assessments, it's also other assessments, like our iReady assessments. Performance data has been low traditionally for 7th and 8th grade.
Thank you, Dr. Cardwell. Any other questions for Dr. Cardwell? No, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, Superintendent would like to make a comment.
Dr. Cardwell, I would like to thank you for an excellent presentation, and I appreciate your enthusiasm for the work that we're doing here in Wappingers. I would also like to congratulate our teachers and praise our students for their achievement, and thank our families for working together as a team to ensure that our children are as successful as they can be. So I want to thank you, Dr. Cardwell.
Thank you, Superintendent. Would anybody like to remove anything from the consent agenda? I see nobody wants to remove anything from consent agenda, so we'll move on to 6.01, consent agenda resolutions.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the following consent agenda items as stated. 6.02, 6.03, 6.04, 6.05, 6.06, 6.07, 6.08, 6.09, 6.10, 6.11, 6.12, 6.13, 6.14, 6.15, 6.16, 6.17, 6.18, and 6.19.
Do I have a motion? Trustee Virgil Cavallari, second by Marie Johnson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So moved. Let me catch up. 7.01, approval of revised 2024-25 board meeting calendar.
Whereas the board meeting scheduled for February 24th, 2025 conflicts with a national convention for superintendents, and whereas the board meeting location at Wappingers Junior High School is being used to rehearse for their upcoming school production during the week of March 10th, 2025, and will need to be moved to an alternate location. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappingers Central School District does hereby approve the revised 2024-2025 Board of Education meeting calendar as follows. Rescheduling the February 24th board meeting to Tuesday, February 18th, and changing the location of the March 10th board meeting from Wappingers Junior High School to Roy C. Ketchum High School.
Motion, Peggy Kellen, second by Marie Johnson. All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. Sure.
I would like to thank the Board of Education for their support. I have been invited by the National Superintendent's Forum to serve as a delegate to the National Conference in Atlanta, and I am looking forward to representing our school district and having conversations with those throughout the country in regards to what we do here in Wappingers and what we can do to improve. So I want to thank the board for providing me with this opportunity to attend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Eddie, I just want to comment on your reading. I love it. I really do. You make my whole day. Resolved.
Hurry
Then
up.
now.
6.01, hurry up, 8.01, hurry up.
8.01, approval of transfer agreement, Wappingers Junior High School Wildcats wrestling logo.
Whereas.
Nice. Real nice.
Turn off your mic, I don't want to get any feedback. Whereas the Board of Education has reviewed the proposed transfer agreement for a logo design for the Wappingers Junior High School and finds its terms acceptable in this school district. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the transfer agreement authorizing the transfer of all intellectual property rights of the Wildcats wrestling logo created by Arlington, Inc. to the Wappingers Central School District, and further authorizes the board president to execute the attached transfer agreement on behalf of the Board of Education. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education does hereby approve the new Wildcats Wrestling logo for Wappingers Junior High School and does hereby waive the first reading and adopts the revision to Exhibit 5260-E.1 official marks effective January 14th, 2025 as requested by Principal Terrence Thompson.
Do I have a motion? Trustee John Morgan, second by Virgil Capillari. All in favor? Any opposed? So moved. (8.02) Second reading and adoption of policies.
Resolved that the Board of Education of the Wappinger Central School District hereby approves the second reading of and adopts the following policies based upon the first reading by the Board and the recommendation of the Policy Committee as stated.
Marie Johnson, Peggy Kellen, second. All in favor? Aye. Mr. Lumia? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? No? So moved. Thank you. 8.03, first, 8.03, first reading of policies, silent reading. Any questions? You can refer to the policy 8210 based on the security and access to the building grounds.
If anybody in the public has questions, send them to Ms. Kellen, the head of the policy committee,
I'm
so it can
sorry.
be addressed.
Okay, we got that? If you have any questions on that policy, please send them to Peggy Kellen. Just what she said, yeah. It's getting late, as you can tell. 9.01, board members may request additional agenda items, discuss items, or request for information. Oh, we got something. Now I gotta go to work. Huh? Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to listen to public comments. Although the state law does not require us to hold a public comment period, we have chosen to do so because we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns. The board is here to listen. The board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed to be a debate or dialogue. Please do not expect the board to respond to your concerns, questions tonight. We take your concerns and questions seriously, and we want to have significant time to process and research issues, if need be. Any questions from the public should be submitted through the use of public comment forum, which may be obtained online or at the desk of the district clerk. We will have the proper staff members get back to you as appropriate. I will also want to point out that under the state and federal privacy laws, we are unable to address any comments or questions about specific students or school personnel. We would also ask you to go through the appropriate administration channels. A total of 30 minutes has been at the beginning of the board meeting and set aside allow the public to comment on agenda items only. Public comments at the beginning of the meeting is limited only to items on the agenda. Persons who wish to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting are asked to provide their name and specific agenda items about which they wish to speak. A sign-in sheet is located at the front desk by the district clerk. Individual comments or agenda items may be limited to 3 minutes and are welcome. If you wish to address items related to the school districts that are not on tonight's agenda, another comment period is provided at the end of the meeting. To assure for that purpose, a second sign-in sheet is available for non-agenda items. In the interest of civility and respect for different points of views, clapping, booing, or disturbance or disruption during this public comment session is not permitted. At any time, comments related to agenda items are welcome. So can we have Brittany Kochi? Thank you, Brittany.
Let's flip. Oh, sorry. Good evening. My name is Brittany Kochi. I am the PTA president at Myers Corners Elementary School. I was here back in November to address a few safety concerns that we have at our school, and I want to thank the board and our superintendent for not only just listening to those concerns, but also beginning to address some of those concerns. So thank you for that. I actually want to add something on to what I discussed that evening, which was actually brought up tonight, so that's wonderful. I'm hoping that we can add on a traffic light onto when we fix, or hopefully when we fix our parking lot. I think that even just turning right out of the parking lot is very dangerous, and it's nerve-wracking watching the buses full of children do that on a daily basis, especially when we do not have an officer there every single day helping direct traffic. And I prefer to be preventive rather than reactive, so we don't want any accidents happening there. So also, something that was also mentioned this evening, actually, which I was not expecting to hear us talk about, was the special education classrooms and the size and the overcrowding. I have 2 children right now that are actually in ICT classrooms. My older child has an IEP. My younger child is a gen ed student in an ICT classroom. And the classes are overflowing. My older son, there's almost 30 children in his class. My younger son, there's less children. However, there are at least 5 or more adults in that classroom at all times, between TAs and teachers. I think that it is overwhelming to them, especially children that have IEPs, to be in classrooms of that size. Even if it's just having all the extra adults in that room, it's overwhelming to them. And I think we're doing a disservice to them by having that many children and the adults on top crammed into that small space. So I wanted to bring that to your attention with the hopes that we can do something about reducing the class sizes, especially for the ICT classrooms. And also, in regards to what you were mentioning before, as parents, we would love to join a focus group or of some sort and discuss what was mentioned regarding the 6th grade. So, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much for your time. Karen Finnegan.
Hi, good evening, everybody, and many thanks to the board for allowing the opportunity to speak. I'm up here today in response to a letter went out from Dr. Bonk regarding an incident at a sports game where there were some racial slurs, and I want to say that I thought the letter was actually really good. It seems like, swift action was taken, but it does kind of reiterate some of the things that I've talked about before as a representative of the organization Defense of Democracy. And personally, as somebody who has lived in the school district for about 20 years, I actually moved here because of the school district. It's an excellent district. I think that there's a lot to be proud of here. But there are a lot of parents in the district who remain concerned, especially now, with the presence of groups like Moms for Liberty and other extremist groups that are really anti-public schools. And I have been and addressed the board in the past when there were specific issues that came up, in particular issues regarding bullying by parents and children of those parents, as we had seen in the years past when there was like a petition put together regarding a student a member of the trans community and all of these horrible things, and we came up and we talked about it, and we were assured at one point that there would be a hire of somebody to deal with the adult bullying of children, and that didn't come to pass. But I just want to, kind of give an update because I actually met with Mr. Kedzie. I mean, my son calls him Kedzie, so you know who I'm talking about. So I had a meeting with him, and similar to what was just said, it's really important to be proactive rather than reactive with these things. And when I sat down with Kedzie, we talked about several things. And number one, he mentioned that he was
Could you please stop?
So using his name, is that?
Yes,
okay.
please. Thank you.
All right, so I met with the principal of John Jay, and he assured me that he was going to reach out to get the Anti-Defamation League, was the group that he wanted to bring in to talk and maybe run a few programs. I don't think anything happened with that. I haven't heard of anything. And then he mentioned, which I think is also kind of accurate, it's things need to be done in the lower levels, not necessarily in high school, but like elementary, middle school. So I may or may not be aware of some things that are going on, but even in the presentation today, you see things that we should be proud of, like social emotional learning. Like these are the things that are in the crosshairs of these groups that treat these initiatives like they're this horrible indoctrination. So I know my time is up. I want to say you all have been contacted by me. I'm sure you're well aware of how to get in touch with me, but we really do want to help. I mean, I'm here with volunteers. We have a group of people who want to be of assistance and not always complaining, right? We're here, we're actively, and so I would welcome anyone reaching out to me so that I could sit and talk and see if there's something we could do proactively to be ready for, whatever challenges might be faced in the community. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Resolved that the Board of Education does hereby adjourn the January 13th, 2025 Board of Education meeting. The time is now 9:26 p.m.
Motion. Marie Johnson, second by Peggy Kellen. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.